Setting up in the prone position, core engaged and shoulders stabilised. Starting with the swimming exercise, exhale to lengthen one leg and opposite arm. Inhale to release and then swap sides. Breathe out, lengthen and lift opposite arm and leg. Breathe in to release. Keep alternating the sides so it's always opposite arm and leg. Work in time with your breathing. Breathing out to lengthen and lift. Breathing in to release back to the start. We're aiming to send the energy from our core through the arm and leg. Length is more important than height. Make sure that we keep our shoulders stabilised. So rather than hunching as you raise an arm, pull the shoulder blade down towards your hips. You'll feel a squeeze in the glute muscle, which is what makes your leg lift. Our aim is to not rock and roll, but to keep our body stable. So use your core. You can imagine a drawing pin or a Malteser under your belly button. Don't prick the belly and don't melt the chocolate. Always lengthening from head to toe. Stretch your spine. Keep a good smooth rhythm going in time with your breathing. Remember, this is all about control to strengthen our back. Keep pushing the energy through the legs, toes touching the wall behind you, top of the head, fingertips touching the wall in front. Changing into swan dive now. Keep your prone setup position, arms in the wide E. As you breathe in, you'll push the top of your head forwards and start to raise between your shoulder blades. The upper body gently coming up, breathing out to go back down to the floor. Keep it going in time with your own breathing. Breath in to lift, breath out to lower. Imagine you've got a hoist between your shoulder blades. This is where we're lifting from. And as you inhale with our lateral thoracic breathing, the air comes into the back of the ribs and floats you up. Keep a nice smooth flowing action going. Make sure there's no pressure change under your middle. We're using core and moving the energy. If this feels okay, you might want to progress by floating the arms approximately an inch off the floor. The arms are just there to make you look pretty. It intensifies the action. So still just your upper body moving. Arms stay still, legs stay still. Remember to energize your whole body. Lengthen, stabilize from the core and send that energy up through the spine to create the backwards movement. To ensure you've got the correct position, keep the eyes looking down at your mat. Let's change our position into a new exercise, onto one side this time. We'll set up the body in the side position, core engaged, shoulders and hips stacked. This is our oyster exercise, and on the breath out, we'll squeeze the top glute muscle so the leg starts to lift slightly, and breathe in to release down. Work in time with your own breathing. This won't be a massive action. Your aim is to make sure that your hips stay stacked, the pelvis remains stable, and we're using just our glute muscle to let the leg come up. You feel yourself rolling backwards at any time, you know you need more core, and we need to change to just using your glute muscles. You can always put the arm in the air if you feel you've got balance and you want to challenge your core more. It's optional. Remember to focus on isolating that glute muscle Really get the hip opening and closing. We're using our thighs. The slower you can come down, the harder the muscle will work. Check that you're stretching through your spine, no slouching. We should be able to fit a piece of paper under the side we're lying on. Energize from those core muscles. So change in position, coming up into the seated position with the legs mermaiding to the side. So this will be the mermaid exercise. Anchor your tailbone and sit bones to the floor. And as you breathe out, stretch upwards from the hip to one side. Breath in and go over the legs. So your breath out will be to stretch away from the legs, and breath in to reach over the legs. Each time you come back to the center, just check your posture. Make sure you're sitting as tall as possible. So we're pulling in from the sides. The more you can pull in from the side, the more stretch you'll get on the long side. We're not really leaning over, but just letting the spine move from side to side. This should be really stretching out the hips. And if it does get too much, just place the legs in front of you and continue to work from the waist. The main aim is to get the movement side to side, the lateral flexion of the spine. The taller we sit, the easier the movement will go. Keep those shoulders down, sliding the shoulder blades together into the V shape down your back. Really pull in from the waist. The more you pull in, the more the stretch. Let's change sides, exactly the same again. Prepare your seated position, anchor your sit bones and tailbone. And when you're ready, the breath out, away from the legs, breath in, over the legs. Remember, taller and taller. Push down through the tailbone. Keep those sit bones super glued to the ground. Reach up through the head. Imagine that piece of string pulling you upwards through the crown of the head. Really keep your core muscles working, pelvic floor, TVA. Move this energy. Keep pulling inwards from the waist to stretch the top side. Feel it through your sides. Great exercise for stretching the hips and mobilizing the spine. Keep the flow, really rhythmic movements, just matching your breathing. Nice and tall, pushing upwards. Work the waist, pull in, feel the stretch. Push down as you pull in through the side and reaching higher. Let's change position again. So we're coming back down onto the side. We have our second set of oyster exercises. Stack the hips and shoulders, stretch your spine, engage the core. The breath out will be to squeeze the top glute muscle, the knee will raise to the roof, and breath in to release. So remember to work in your own time, matching the pace of your breathing. This doesn't have to be a massive movement. The knee might not go very far, because if you feel that your pelvis is rolling backwards, then you're not working the core enough and you're using the wrong muscles. Really feel that squeeze of the glute, crush it tight, feel the tension. And this should really start to get very achy in the glutes and outer thigh. Keep pulling up your pelvic floor. The arm again can be up in the air or fingers on the floor, depending on how good your balance is. Keep stretching the spine, energize the whole body. Release that leg slowly each time to work the muscles harder. Squeeze hard on the breath out. Release slowly on the breath in. Really feel that contraction of the muscle. So changing our position once more. This time we're coming onto the back for the supine setup. We'll be twisting the supine twist. So once you've engaged and set up properly, we're going to be moving our legs to the side. The breath out will twist both legs to one side, and the breath in to return to center. Switch sides each repetition, and your aim is to see how far you can take the legs over to the side without the hip popping up in the air. You want to feel as little change of pressure under your back and hips as possible. Really try to keep a neutral spine. And feel this through your obliques, through your lower abs and deep core. Check that we're stretching through the spine, lengthening our body and keeping the shoulders in place. The further progression would be to work in tabletop. This is optional. Remember, work at your own level. The movement is exactly the same in tabletop. Breath out, twist to the side. Breath in, return to center. If you have your legs in tabletop, check that your knees never come over your belly. Deep core strength is what we're going for. It's a smooth, rhythmical action in time with the breathing. Keep engaged, transfer that energy to the parts of the body that need it. Breathe deeply. Continue to feel the challenge. If it gets too much, you can always put the feet down. Very good for strengthening core. Coming to the end of this one, we're going to continue on our back with the dying bug. So for this one, we breathe out and we stretch opposite arm and leg out as long as they'll go without feeling any pressure change under the back. You just return to the start position on the breath in. We're going to alternate opposite sides. So it's opposite arm and leg out on the breath out, in on the breath in. Really use your core, and when you raise your arm, avoid lifting the chest. Keep your chest bone and belly button as close together as possible. Feel the rhythm, move to the breath. Again, you can work in tabletop if you want progressions. The action remains the same. Breath out to lengthen, breath in, return. Really move the energy through the arms and legs. Touch the walls in front and behind you. Check that we never lose our neutral spine. There should be no pressure change under your lower back or under either hip. Everything remains the same, so we never wobble side to side. Keep your body stable and challenge the movement. Keep lengthening, keep energizing. Breathe deeply, use your oxygen, match the movement to the breath. Coming into the end, we're now going to take a rest and relax before stretching out.